this is a conversation that can't really stop. And when it does is probably when we find the most challenges, and things get lost and people kind of lose each other. So part of the work is bringing people back together to have those communication, the consent conversations, the interest conversations, and really provide a space for discussing their intimacy.
It's great to have you here today. I'm going to jump right in. We're going to talk about monogamy today. So many people think that monogamy is a fixed agreement. What are the limitations of that view, and how does reframing it as a dynamic process change things?
Well, it's certainly an ongoing discussion. I think, as I work with other colleagues and clinically, we see that people can't passively just make assumptions. And if they do in their monogamous relationships, usually we see a lot of challenges and problems present. So just like any kind of consensual relationship decision, we really empower clients and are kind of looking at the dynamics of making decisions on a continuous basis. That impact a monogamous relationship, whether that be intimacy related, time related, and other commitments as well.
Wonderful. So you emphasize communication, consent, and consistency as key to sustaining intimacy. Can you share how these three elements work together in long-term relationships?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of times society assumes that when you enter into a relationship and there's assumptions maybe, or the set agreements that you go into that relationship with, that you don't have to renegotiate or have any conversations for updating. And what we're continuously seeing in sessions with clients, and I think as a society in general, globally as well, is that it's really important to consent and to continuously communicate about what your agreements are. I think particularly with intimacy and relationships, we're dynamic human beings. We are changing, our bodies change, our sexuality changes and transforms over time, individually and with partners. So it's critically important to understand that with all of those changes that are going to occur, we want to communicate with a partner about that, whether that be monogamously or non-monogamously. So yeah, it's just endlessly apparent in the work that we do that this is a conversation that can't really stop. And when it does is probably when we find the most challenges, and things get lost and people kind of lose each other. So part of the work is bringing people back together to have those communication, the consent conversations, the interest conversations, and really provide a space for discussing their intimacy. And again, I'll just say non-monogamously or monogamously, these things continue to show up in our work. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that answer. What are some of the most common challenges couples face when trying to keep intimacy alive over the years?
Yeah, I mean, I think every clinician is going to see different things in their office. I think a lot of times what we see is, or at least what I see is people being really fearful of being vulnerable about their needs. They don't want to hurt their partner's feelings, and so they withdraw sometimes, or kind of the monotony of their sexual intimacy with their partner just kind of takes over. And the fear of vulnerability can really drive a wedge between partners in a relationship. So I think that a lot of what we're seeing is that, we need to have these conversations and really, I think, pull back the layer of protection that people develop over time out of fear of rejection or fear of abandonment or fear of loss. Um, because whether it be emotional needs or sexual needs, they may change. And so encouraging and really empowering and teaching clients to have those conversations in long-term relationships and in in shorter term relationships as well, helping them with the language, working through some of the challenges that they may have already faced, um, can be really helpful. And I think that also sometimes it takes a third party to be like asking some, more tender questions, respecting their pacing, the client's pacing. But it's a really beautiful gift to be able to offer some space for reflection and vulnerability and helping people communicate about what they want.
Oh, absolutely. And just because you've been with your partner for 10, 15, 20, or more years doesn't mean they're a mind reader and they know exactly what's going on in your head. You have to have these discussions.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So you also highlight solo intimacy practices in your talk. How can individuals who aren't partnered use this framework to build connection and fulfillment in their own lives?
Yeah, I think the solo intimacy piece is really important. I think that our sexual relationship with ourself will continue over time if, that is a person's orientation. Obviously, if we're thinking about someone who identifies or is asexual, we're in a different space. But I think when we consider solo play or masturbation, we really do like individual masturbation. We really do want to appreciate that that is also an experience an exercise, an activity, a relationship with ourselves that's really nurturing the sexual self as well. So, for example, if you're in a long-term relationship and there's ups and downs, as there very well will be, someone may not be as intimate for years, sometimes months, sometimes there could be children or pets or moving or illnesses, family things, professional, things that cause a change to someone's frequency, desire, or something of that nature. And so what we identified is that this relationship with self-love or masturbation is a continuance of nurturing your sexual self while also respecting a partner's needs maybe for their own time, space, and of course not wanting to override, any of their needs, but also that doesn't mean that you have to shut off your own sexual needs.
Before you watch the rest of our video, did you know a lot of people haven't subscribed to our channel yet? So if you love this type of content, go ahead and click subscribe now before you watch the rest of the video.
So there's an emphasis on you don't have to be celibate necessarily, just because you're in a period of time with your partner where they may not be experiencing as much arousal and desire. So it's really, I think what is valuable about it is normalizing that each person, most oftentimes or commonly, each person does have a sexual identity that they resonate with themselves. And so to be able to nurture that with or without a partner is really important and not to feel ashamed of that or shutting that down just because their partner may not be in the space for that shared sexual activity.
Yeah. Oh, I love that perspective because I think so often people only think of intimacy and sex and sexual activity as something that happens with another person, but yourself, you have the longest relationship with yourself and the most important relationship. So it's
Yeah.
important to nurture that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that we see, I think luckily, I think that culture is changing and we're being more welcoming of, masturbation and pornography use, ethical pornography use, and being able to consume materials that also nurture some of that as well. Obviously, there's, different dynamics to that, but I think that we have seen historically that masturbation was viewed as a threat to a sexual relationship within a monogamous partnership, and we're really trying to pull back the veil on that because it's nothing to be ashamed of. Masturbation, self-love, these kind of like playing with self is extremely valuable as well. So I think we really want to emphasize that with partners. Especially when, frequency decreases and they're in a monogamous relationship. So something that a lot of people work with clients on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, my last question for you is about practical activities. So, I want to talk about practical activities for rejuvenating intimacy. So, could you give us one or two examples of things that people could do to start rejuvenating their intimacy right away?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely having the conversations. I think that when the conversations stop about intimacy and about desire, arousal, about what a person may like, it becomes really challenging to access some of those spaces. So encouraging open communication, which also has its challenges. I mean, of course, we're going to work with variance in age of different cultures and backgrounds, gender identities, sexual orientations. And so I think we want to honor and respect that it does intimacy and discussions around sex and intimacy aren't always going to sound the same or feel as comfortable to one couple maybe as they may feel comfortable to another couple. But I think that starting the conversation is really valuable. And then consistency is another big component. So when we think about intimacy, on the spectrum of like emotional intimacy and sexual intimacy and other, types of interacting with a partner, we really also want to emphasize that it's not like once in a while. Consistency can be really important as well. Really planning to prioritize that relationship and make time for that connection. So those are really important components. I think I would note, obviously, of course, we also want to respect that people may have some trauma in their background. They may be going through some, a transition in their life. And so we really want to respect as well that there may not be immediate activity on the table for some couples, and that's okay. I think that we want to remind people that as you and your partner in a monogamous dynamic prioritize time, communication, exploration with each other, that even if you don't get to certain sexual acts right away, that doesn't mean that they can't be present down the road. But I think creating the space, opening the dialogue, are the two most important components because a lot of times people are hoping it's just going to happen naturally.
Oh, yeah.
This spontaneous, lovely idea that so many people have of just being able to like falls into your lap with your partner. And I think what we realize is it's just not always going to happen that way with everything that life has to offer, cohabitating, shared space, all of these components. It's really important to kind of set aside some time for that. And sometimes, I mean, of course, obviously talking with a third party like a sex therapist is going to be really valuable for a lot of people as well, to help them maybe ask some more of the challenging questions.
Absolutely. All right. Well, if you're watching this and you love learning from experts like Morghan Weber, check out our events at sexualhealthalliance.com. We have events both online and in person. We host events online almost every month. So check out what's coming up next. Thanks for being with us today, Morghan.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our video with Morghan. It was so much fun. Do us a favor and share this video with someone who might benefit from this information. Your support helps us reach more people with important sexual health information. If you're passionate about this space, we know you'll enjoy these videos, so check them out. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And remember, you are exceptional.